Hi there, it's Nicole here for Lawn Fawn, and I'm going to share a shaker card created with embossable window plastic from Judikins for the window, meaning instead of having to use StazOn, I am stamping with Versamark and heat embossing with Lawn Fawn embossing powders directly on the window. It's one of my favorite techniques to get a great dimensional look with a shaker card to add some stamping to the window. And with this embossable plastic, it really gives you so many more options. Another thing I'm going to share in my video is I am adding Stick It to two sides of Fun Foam here. And I'm going to die cut the new Lawn Fawn Portrait Stitched Hillside backdrop from these. This is going to create my shaker component. Rather than using foam adhesive, I'm going to use one layer of Fun Foam. And the reason it's only this one thin layer is that this stitched hillside backdrop is A2 sized. If I would put foam adhesive all the way around the edges, which you could definitely, but it tends to make it super thick and hard to fit in an envelope. I have done it a lot before and really not had good results. So what I'm going to do instead is create that Fun Foam layer and die cut the Portrait Stitched Hillside from that. And then I'm going to place the window plastic behind it after I've stamped and embossed it with my stitched hillside backdrop on front of this. And then I can fill that very thin or shallow well or shaker with my glitter. I have already stamped my images from Beary Happy Holidays and Winter Village on some scraps of Nina's Smooth White cardstock. I had lots of little scraps here. I use scraps a lot when coloring in. Usually they're left over from creating things like this Portrait Stitched Hillside backdrop or other things like that, and it's a perfect way to get the most out of your paper. I am combining these two sets. I absolutely love all of the little buildings from the Lawn Fawn winter release. There are the die cut buildings that come with either the portrait or landscape stitched hillside backdrops. But then there is this Winter Village stamp set, so if you want to color in your own little buildings, you can do that as well. And I love both options, and I think it's really fun to mix and match our different stamps to create truly unique scenes. And I'm very much drawn to the bright rainbowy colors kind of scenes here lately. So this is going to be another card that features lots of bright, fun colors against an awesome winter backdrop. The difference between this and my Here We Go a Waddling card that I will link here at the end of this video, which also features a lot of bright colors and scene building with these stitched hillside backdrops, is that this is going to be a night sky with the glitter encased inside of my scene, instead of gluing glitter to make the snow outside, which I definitely could do that too. I'm using the new Lawn Fawn Chunky glitter for this, and I love it. It's kind of iridescent-y, and I think it looks like falling snow. It's really, really pretty. For all of my coloring here, on the left side of the screen, I have listed out the image and the colors I used for each. Starting with my bear, I try to kind of follow the same order as I colored. I hope that helps a little bit if you ever are curious or want to reference which color combinations I used. They are listed there. I started with my little skating polar bear, which will be on the forefront of the card. With these Portrait Stitched Hillside backdrops or landscape stitched hillside backdrops, they're fantastic for scene building because you can truly create a dimensional scene. I'm a huge fan of scene cards, which if you follow me, I'm sure you know. And I like finding ways to create different types of scenes, and this is a really easy way. Rather than having to use borders to create my water layer, then the snow layer, and finally the scene and the sky layers, this kind of creates it all in one. Everything is on this single layer. I'm going to do a little creative masking to ink these up and color each layer the color I want them. But other than that, this is flat except for the fact that it's a shaker. So no additional layers needed, which I really think is kind of clever and fun and a really great way to create a card. So we're going to start with our polar bear ice skating in the water in the forefront. Then there's a layer of snow where some buildings and trees are sitting, kind of back behind that. It's like the polar bear is ice skating on the lake and there's a little village back behind. In my mind, this is kind of how I imagine it anyway. And then back behind that, the forest kind of goes on. Some of the trees are actually going to be adhered inside of the shaker. Everything else is going to be on the window, and I'll talk about that in a little bit when I get to putting the shaker together. But the moon and stars are going to be inside the shaker, as well as my falling snow. Once I have my images all colored, I am going to go ahead and die cut them. I really love these little light street lights. There is a large one in the Here We Go a Waddling stamp set, and then in the Winter Village there's these little teeny tiny ones. I think they're so fantastic. I don't know what it is about them, but I really love them. Now I'm taking my plain white cardstock frame. This is what's going to go on the front of my shaker. And I have laid my plastic back behind it. It's just helping serve as a guide so that I know where I can place my greetings. Both of these phrases are from Very Happy Holidays, but you could mix and match with whatever you want to use. Since that polar bear is kind of on the foreground, I decided I wanted to use the May Your Days Be Berry and Bright, just because I think that really works well with that image. But you could totally use images from Winter Village, from other Christmas stamp sets, whatever you like. I am stamping these with Versamark ink. I did use the powder tool first just to kind of help keep the embossing powder where I want it to go. And I'm going to sprinkle on the Lawn Fawn Silver embossing powder. And you can see it's really sticking to the window. I actually took that over my trash can and just tapped the back, kind of flicked it, and those extra flakes fell off. That is the only thing about plastic. I have found that even with a powder tool, your embossing powder likes to stick to it. The little protective sheet is still behind it. That's what that is. It's not actually going to be that, have that kind of color to it. It's completely clear. I stamped the greeting first. I'm going to take my powder tool again and then take snowflakes from Very Happy Holidays and add snowflakes all over this. I'm using my frame as a guide to kind of know where I want those to go. I don't want to do too many because I want some stars in the background, but I want a few here to help with the falling snow feel of the scene. I have never had a acetate or transparency product like this before where you can actually emboss on it without melting and ruining it. So these embossable window plastics from Judikins are my new favorite thing. They're my new way of creating windows for shaker cards or other kind of clear designs. Just fantastic. I really am excited about these, and I've used them a couple different times and I've really, really liked them. So again, tapping off any excess after I stamp my snowflakes, and I just tried to figure out the best place and which ones to use. There's 3 snowflake designs from Very Happy Holidays. Once I have those, I will heat emboss these and then work on inking up all of the components for the rest of the scene before we put it all together. I've been really drawn to not only the bright colors that I was talking about earlier, but glitter for this holiday season. I'm not exactly sure why. I like glitter, but like many people, I don't really like the mess it creates. But I've really been drawn to it lately, and I think probably we'll see it a lot throughout my holiday projects for the 2017 holiday season. Now this is the insert piece from my white cardstock frame die cut. So I've got the die cut frame from the Fun Foam with Stick It on both sides, and then I've got the one from cardstock, which is going to actually be the front of the shaker card. But this little insert's going to fit inside, and this is that night sky. I am using chipped sapphire and blueprint sketch for my night sky, and I'm drawing this with a heat tool. Distress ink is going to stay wet for a little bit, but I want to do some embossing, and I don't want my embossing powder to stick to this panel at all, so I want to make sure it's really, really good and dry. You can either let it sit and air dry, which will take a little bit, or you can hit it with your heat tool. I'm using a powder tool all over the surface, and again, I need to use my window and greetings plus my little buildings to kind of guide me where everything is going to go. But this is I'm going to stamp these stars for the night sky. I have attached my moon there because this is all going to be in the background. I'll have several little star images throughout the design. One of those stars did not stamp all the way. I didn't worry about it. Same with the snowflake on the window. I decided to embrace the imperfection of it. It's absolutely fine. I will heat set these and then mask off the top portion of the card. If I left the white frame here white, I think that takes away from the design, since the stitched hillsides along the bottom would go all the way across, and you'll see that a little bit better in a minute. So I want to match this to my sky with the chipped sapphire and blueprint sketch. See how that's nice and seamless? I'm going to go ahead and flip my little post-it tape up above and very, very lightly only ink the top edge without even inking up with an ink pad. I'm just using my ink blending tool, tumbled glass distress ink for my snow layer. And then I need to mask off everything else from that bottom. This is the water. And for the water, I'm going to use Salty Ocean. And I want it to be a nice watery blue, so that it looks like the polar bear is ice skating on his little chunk of ice, his little floating ice here in the water, plus there's going to be fish and things down here in the bottom of the card. This is all blended on Nina's Smooth White cardstock. No specialty cardstock here. I did spritz the bottom with water only. I didn't spritz anything else to help with that look of water, I think. I'm going to remove my masks. And there are my 3 layers: the night sky, the snow, and then the water. From there, we're going to start putting it all together. A little wink of Stella clear glitter brush pen on the moon and in the stars. I think the stars probably, that was a moot point. I don't think we're ever going to see that, so doesn't really matter. That's fine. On the back of my frame, I'm going to take some score tape and go around those thin edges with the score tape. And then I'm just using a different adhesive for the rest of it because it's nice and wide. I'm going to remove my backing paper from the score tape, and I'm going to place my acetate window behind this because I'm going to need all of my layers kind of ready to go so I can start attaching all of the little buildings and the bear and all of that. Here are my layers, and I'm not going to put the shaker together yet because I have some elements that go inside, and I really need to start putting them all together so I know where they go. Now, just like my Here We Go a Waddling card, I added some quote-unquote snow with the PRISMA glitter. I'm using glossy accents to add some glue and then adding PRISMA glitter to that, to the buildings and the trees. I want to do that for my little winter village images. So I'm using my winter village so I can figure out where to put my trees, because I don't want it to be completely behind it there. And I'm using tweezers. This helps me keep my fingers out of the glue, but I want it to have that depth and dimension. Only 2 trees are actually going to be inside the shaker. Everything else is going to be on the front. Now, part of the reason for that is the chunky glitter rather is really sticky. It loves the transparency window and it's going to stick to it. So while I don't mind some of the images being covered up with the glitter, I don't want everything covered up with the glitter. Same goes for it's the reason that many times I will stamp my greeting on the window of the shaker card, because that way it is always visible and it's never covered up with a shaker component that might distort what you want the greeting says. I'm kind of working my way from right to left with a light post, the little group of 3 houses, a tree, and then kind of my little townhouse or taller house here. I originally only stamped and colored in these 2 trees. See, one tree is inside, one is on the outside. Gives you some nice depth and dimension. But I realized really quickly that I needed one more to the left of that taller building, so I will stamp and color one additional little house here in a second. I went ahead and finished adhering the rest of this stuff. This is a little tree topper that comes in the Winter Village stamp set that is fantastic for making a Christmas tree design, and I just colored the bottom part of it green so it would kind of blend into the rest of my tree. Added some little glitter to it. I'm going to use my tweezers here to kind of position it and add that to my tree. And it's nice and glittery, so there you go. That's kind of what it's going to look like. Have my other little street light here. Now, while I am letting some of that glue dry, I'm going to add accents to the bear's nose and the fish's eyes with a black glaze pen. I also used this black glaze pen for the door handles on any of the Winter Village buildings. A white pen is going to be used to create little highlights. Highlights for the polar bear skates, polka dots for his scarf, a little highlight over the black gel pen on his nose, little things like that. Highlights on some of the winter buildings as well. I really love the look of adding finishing details to stamped images. While I went ahead and added white highlights to the little block of ice there, it's not going to be visible. I did cover the ice with glossy accents, and for whatever reason that distorts any white pen work. You could definitely wait till the glossy accents dries and then go over it with a white pen if you wanted to. Here is that final tree that I'm tucking inside of my shaker there on the left. My little tweezers, they definitely are the best way to kind of keep fingers out of things. And my Winter Village is all assembled. I took the Wink of Stella clear glitter brush pen to the lights and then glossy accents over the top so it's kind of a glowing light. Add my ice to the water and my polar bear ice skating on top of that. I'm just going to add a layer of glossy accents before I attach him. That glue on the ice will kind of help hold him in place too. And here are those last little white highlight details. Just here and there. The fish will all be adhered along that bottom edge. And I love them. I think they're just so cute. And the scene is definitely coming together. You can really see it here. We're almost finished putting everything together. Basically, we only have the shaker left. Once everything is in place, we're going to go ahead and place the card base down, put the chunky glitter inside, peel off the stick-it, and put the cover on. Thanks for joining me today for this shaker card featuring embossable window plastic and the Lawn Fawn Berry Happy Holidays and Winter Village stamps and dies. The supplies I used are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more videos featuring Lawn Fawn stamps and dies that you might be interested in. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.